Lots of dust in this caper. And so I've been, doing things like spending time out in the landscape waiting for a large goods train to appear, and I've had good luck. I went out scouting for sites where I could get access to quite close to the railway, and then a train just happened along. So that was yesterday, and then today I was at the Machinery Preservation Society, and we heard the horn of a train, and the guys there were telling me that means the goods train's about to leave. So I hopped in the car and drove out. And so I've got 4 different locations that I've filmed with goods trains going by, all at different distances, quite close up or really far off in the distance, or just sort of medium distance. And I guess, the good trains are just telling another part of that story of, what's relied on to have life out here. We need this sort of infrastructure, bringing things in, taking things out. Another nice thing about it is things like taking, people on that journey too. So, talking to the people at the Machine Preservation Society and talking about putting contact microphones on a big old piece of machinery and playing it with a cello bow, and you sort of see their faces scrunch up as they're trying to understand what you're talking about at all. And it's nice to take people on that journey to then hear something that ends up being really astonishing for them, because they've seen this thing as this practical piece of infrastructure that has to be maintained out in this heat. A lot of the stuff out there, it's old technology, and so it's just, museum pieces now. But they kind of tell the story of industry, and so then when you take that and you actually go from this same thing, we're actually going to play something kind of beautiful sounding, these really emotional tones that we can get from it. It's, it's a really different way for those people to have a connection to that piece of infrastructure, to that machinery. And to me, it kind of just reminds us that there's people behind all these things. There's people behind the mines, there's people behind the old machines that are being cared for out there. There's people behind all the stories that make this place. I think it's too weird. It's hard with this projector too. For GLAMfest, I'm bringing this in here and I'm going to make this beautiful installation for people to come and experience, and it will involve projections. But in the making of this, I've been spending all these nights out in the landscape here into the early hours of the morning, often on my own, just projecting into the landscape and having really what I think is amazing experiences that I get to have, that not many other people get to have if I'm out there on my own, where I actually see these embedded out there in the landscape. I've been working with 2 collections. So one of them is the Wooler photographic collection, which is in Broken Hill here, and that's got hundreds of beautiful historical images that have been taken, old black and white images. So this image here on the right is one of them. So this is an Aboriginal tracker. And so, this image, for example, I got a copy of the image from the Wooler collection, and I took it out onto a site, onto an old slag heap, the sort of, disuse of mining, and projected it onto that material and then rephotographed it. And so, that's the way I've been working with some parts of that collection. But then also I'm working with Machinery Preservation Society, so some of those great old machines and some of those men there who donate their time to care for some of that history and machinery. And so the image on the left, for example, is a photographic portrait I took from Rex, one of the people at the Machinery Preservation Centre, who spent his working life down in the mines, down underground. And I projected that photographic image of him back onto that old mining heap as well. And pulling all the colour out of the photograph too, so it just sort of blended and merged into the rock. So, an image like that has no manipulation to it afterwards. It's just me re-photographing the projections out on the landscape, really large here. The part of this process where I took these photographs out into the landscape, out into an old sort of mining heap, and projected them, onto these rocks that these people sort of tended their whole lives, and sort of made that connection by placing them back into the material aspect of that. That's what I love about projections. I kind of see projection as painting with light. And so really what I'm trying to do with, say, images like this is to make a painting, but I'm making it with light. It's such an astonishing place, Broken Hill, because you have such a mix of, mining and extraction, alongside, the important work of the unions, etc. And so, such a diverse mix of things have come from this place. How we have, certain schools of art that have come from here. We have, all those natural resources that have been mined. And then we have the consequences of that as well. These things don't come without consequence, even though we rely on them for this equipment that we use to make, for the power that we're using to project on here, although a lot of this is being done with solar power. It's a place where all of these things kind of come together. We see the scars of this extraction, but we also understand the humanity behind it and the worker, that have been working in these mines, and the families behind those people. And then as well, the important Indigenous histories around here as well. So I think that's one of the unique things about Broken Hill, is it has the extremes of all of those things. Our reliance on things that we extract from the ground, and our sort of understanding of how we deal with how that scars the landscape and affects our water and affects all of these things as well.